Welcome to Threads of Sustainability, where you get to hear the passionate, informative, and engaging conversations of creatives, makers, manufacturers, and producers from all over the globe. We explore what sustainability can look like in the quilting, fiber, and textile world, and I'm your host, Bridget O'Flaherty, also known as the Sustainable Quilter. Welcome to this week's episode. I'm excited to talk with Lorraine Turner, and she is a textile artist, and she is inspired by animals and is an animal communicator. And it's such an interesting conversation to have with her. She comes from such a very honest and compelling place with the work that she does that it just was really exciting to just hear her perspective on what she does for animals and with animals, and really the drive that she has behind this. It's a really sincere place that she is coming from, and she does really beautiful work as well. Her textile and thread painting is amazing. She has a long history, which we talk about in graphic design, and she's been able to bring that and translate it into textiles in the last decade, and she's a well-known textile artist. So anyway, I hope you enjoy our conversation. We dive into all kinds of different things about animal communication, being a professional textile artist and what that can look like, and a whole bunch of the different projects that she's working on. Yeah, it's an exciting conversation. I hope you enjoy. I want to welcome Lorraine Turner to Threads of Sustainability. It's pretty exciting to have you here. I'm just really excited to be able to connect with you and talk to you a little bit more about what you do and what feeds your soul in all of this and what drives you to do the work that you do. Mm-hmm. I've been watching you for years. We're both thread painters, so we're both kind of, well, we have the same techniques. That's about all that we can say is the same. But I've just always really admired your work, and everything you do comes from this really beautiful place, a very beautiful place.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. Really, a real privilege. Thank you.
And so tell us where you're talking to me from.
I'm on the Clearwater Bay in the Gulf side of Florida, about middle of the state.
Okay. And have you always been located there, for one thing? And have you always...
I was in Key West for 5 years.
So. Okay. And so where you are now, Clearwater, is kind of, that's your home base, and you've been there a long time.
I've been here 8 years.
Okay.
But not real long, but enough.
You haven't always been a quilter, but you've been in textiles most of your life, right?
I have family that was in textiles. I was a graphic designer. I've been a graphic designer for over 40 years, working on the computer and working as a commercial artist. I didn't even start sewing this type of work until 2016.
Oh, okay. Okay. And so, but you say you've got family in textiles. Tell me a little bit about that.
Mm-hmm. I have quite a lineage here. It goes back pretty far. And I didn't know this. I was involved with genealogy before my dad passed. And my dad was really funny. He was like, don't be looking any relatives up. We might owe somebody money. I traced my family back. And so in 1867, a man named Carl Wrathy immigrated to America from Alsace-Lorraine, France. And he meets a woman, Lena Shoulder, and they get married and they're in love, and they work at the Chicago Opera House, and they do the gowns and the ball gowns and the tailored outfits. And it's pretty cool, and they fall in love, and they move to Philadelphia, and they have 5 children. And one of them is an awning maker. She grows up to be an awning maker. She has 5 children of her own, and one of them is an upholsterer, a fantastic upholsterer.
Okay.
He meets a woman that does embroidery work. So the whole thing is all together together.
It's very connected.
And together and they have 8 kids, and I'm one of them. Oh, so I didn't even know all this. So it's genetic. You can't deny it.
It's true. It's true.
I can't get away from it.
I have similar kind of history in my family. My grandmother and great grandmother and grandfather all worked in the cotton mills in England. So there's definitely connections. And I've still yet to find out whether they did artwork themselves or if they just did the production side of things. But I have a feeling that we're probably going to find some of that history there as well. It's always so interesting to look back at our families.
Yeah, because it calls to you. It just I had no idea I could even do this. It just, came through meditation, whatever. We'll talk about that.
Well, tell me about that. So, how did you move from being in graphic design, where you were incredibly successful, right? Like you were
Mhm.
actually you have accolades in your graphic
Yeah.
design work, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It was very exciting. I worked for Philadelphia 76ers, which is a national basketball, the NBA, National Basketball Association here in America. And I had graduated from art school and got picked up within 6 months from this company that
Oh,
hired me. And I became the lead designer. So I won 2 Emmys in animation and,
wow.
so I was editing video and all that. And as I was doing it, I mean, I knew it was a great ride, but I
Yeah.
had just gotten out of art school and I had graduated with 19-year-olds. I was 36, I was the adult in the club. And it was a fascinating and wonderful experience because you don't realize it at the time. We don't realize our journey,
No.
is intertwining and you're just doing this. And all of the things that I learned as that professional artist, I brought to my textile art, which, you
So,
don't know at the time that's what you're going
no,
to do.
no, of course not. So, how did you make that transition from professional graphic designer to textile artist? How did that happen?
Well, in 2010, I was having a lot of problems with insomnia. I had, I was in a toxic relationship. I wasn't sleeping, and I was just dealing with a lot of multi projects, a lot of graphic art projects. And as you know, when you have multiple projects, some of us are really good at multitasking. I'm very good at multitasking, but to shut my mind off, it was very difficult. So I was constantly thinking of art projects and all that stuff. And so I taught myself a silent meditation. What I didn't understand when I did it, because I was such a novice at it, but when you stop thinking, when you absolutely clear your mind and think about it, stop thinking a thought, that opens the doors for your imagination and your creativity to really come alive. I mean, really
Absolutely.
blossom.
Yeah.
And so animals started talking to me. When I say they started talking to me, I saw for months now, we're talking about 20-minute meditation, go in your room, shut the door, tell the cat they can't come in, the whole thing. No music, no candles, no any of that. And just a silent meditation. And I started to see fields, mountains, rivers, and wild horses running across my vista, all made of calico fabrics.
Wow.
I was not a quilter, but I
Right.
saw the patchwork. The animals are running and they're all covered in patchwork. And it took my breath away. And I was in the comics publishing business at the time. And when I came out to tell my spouse about it, he was like, well, why don't you check and see if there's a book called Calico Horses? That's a really cool name for a kid's book. And there wasn't. But I discovered just in my research that the largest botched roundup here in this country had just occurred. And I feel that the horses, and they were called the Calico Horses because they lived in the Calico Mountains of Nevada. And
Oh.
I believe these horses called out to me. And I got on a plane within 4 days. I met the sanctuary. I met the people that were trying to help the wild horses. I wrote a book, and it was to help children. And I actually keyed it into children of divorce and separation that get stripped from families without, nobody asked me kind of a thing, to the
Right.
horses stripped off the range. And I have the kids teamed up with the foals. And it's a good story. It gives them hope. It gives them understanding. And it tries to shed a little bit of light when storms come upon your path, when
Sure.
things happen to us without warning. How can we find some light, some fresh insight, and help one another? That's
Yeah.
what the book was about. So I'm talking to animals, or I know this seems like it's far from the answer, but I'm talking to animals, and I figured, how do I take this further? What do I do with this? So I found a really, really good teacher in South Africa, and I became a professional animal communicator. She certified me. I had to do like 48 cases, and you have to verify everything that you say. I mean, it's a really, really strong training program that I
So,
did.
so can you dive into that a little bit about as an animal
Mm-hmm.
communicator? Like I know that you
Mm-hmm.
are you practice this. So can you
Mm-hmm.
talk to me a little bit more about what does that mean?
That
What is
profession is. So what happens is I work with photographs, and so you're working through heart energy. And I jumped ahead of this very quickly in my profession from my teacher standpoint because I was already meditating.
right?
Because when you meditate, you're opening that door, as I said, to that passage of communication. So animals talk in pictures, they talk in images, They talk in thought. And so when you're working with an animal, for instance, my cat right now wants attention. When you're working with an animal, you tune into that heart energy. You wait. I mean, you really have to wait, but it's all about sending images back and forth. So I will send, for instance, if it was a behavioral issue and I had a dog that kept jumping up on the furniture, I'm sending images of the same dog laying quietly beside the furniture. Because every time you think that, if you just think about the dog's getting up on the furniture, you're sending an image of dog get up in the furniture. The dog gets up in the furniture.
Right.
So you need to find something different. And there's many, many stories that I could tell you, but it really begins with heart energy. Send love. You sit in a safe space. When I say safe space, a quiet space, not with music playing, all your devices turned off, no pings and bings. And I teach, and I have taught this to children 8 and up.
Wow.
I've traveled all over teaching this. It's something that all people can do it, but they've forgotten how to do it. That's really what it is.
Sure.
That's all it is. I just happened to stumble upon it when I was meditating. I'm telling you, I didn't wake up one day and say, "Hey, think of the animal communicator." But I'm using it in my art. It's very, very, it's very, very prominent in my art, as you can see.
Yeah. And so all of that communication that started happening for you compelled you to not only develop a book, but move into the textiles. So tell me about that process. How did you decide quilting was the way this needed to be spoken?
Good question. Well, in 2015, I was traveling to South Africa to work with white lions. White lions are the top of the canned industry. When I say canned industry, they're in sanctuaries and hunters go and shoot them. And it's a trophy industry and it's perfectly legal and that's what they do. Or you have the sanctuaries where they're protecting the animals. So when you go to Africa, you're going to have the gaming preserves, and you're also going to have the sanctuaries. So I was called in to work with a lion in a sanctuary that was depressed, not eating, things were going on. Well, there's a team of animal communicators, and we found out her name was Cleopatra. Cleopatra had a brother in the preserve next to it who had been killed by a hunter, and she was depressed. And that's really what it was all about. So I'm there, and I'm with this group of people, and I'm enjoying it. It was really, really fun. And I'm talking, and the last day we were there, our instructor said, "All right, I want you to talk to this head lion. Every pride has the head dude, the oldest and the wisest,
Sure.
And we're gonna connect with him. And if you get any messages, that's really great. I mean, that's how all of this. Like, if you get any messages, just share them." So I sit there and I go to meditate and connect with Mandela, his name was, and he starts to show me my illustrations. I'm looking at this, my illustrations in my hand. Every artist knows their work. My work done as textiles. I saw it clearly. And then shows me hands weaving a basket. And he said, "Never look to see what's coming in return because you can never outgive." And that I was going to be doing this to help endangered animals, not necessarily lions, but endangered animals. And so I remember coming out of it and I was still like, because I saw my art and I've never done this in my life. I've never done textile art. And I'm telling my teacher, she's going, "You were supposed to get is that the message?" I'm like, "He was talking about me." We were supposed to be finding out how he was doing, how are you doing? Do you like your food? Whatever. And I'm getting this. Right. So it was a life-changing thing.
Sounds
a
really
game
powerful.
changer.
Yeah, really
it was
powerful.
Huge. I came home, that was October. And by the spring of 2016, I was creating this work to support endangered animals. I started out with felting and 2D textile, that kind of a thing, felting, because that's what I saw at first. And then I started experimenting. Honestly, that's exactly how it happened. I just said, "Hey, I wonder what happens if you do this." I hadn't done this. Right. I was using my mom's Janoni sewing machine that didn't have, I'm like, "What's a darning foot?" Because it says all the instructions are like, drop your feed dog. What's a feed dog?
Right. So you just jumped right in.
I was like, "Okay, this lion said I'm going to be doing this. And of course, my husband, he's so understanding. He's like, "A lion told you to do."
So tell me then a little bit about the fundraising efforts that you've done with this different artwork. How are you raising funds like that?
As I started to do this work, I started to do more equine, more horses, and I connected with the actual sanctuary in Lompoc, California, that houses those horses that were rounded up, the survivors of those horses in the Calico Mountains. And I connected with them and I started donating the funds of the art that I would sell. Now, when I first started selling, I was like every other little artist around here. I was putting it on Etsy and underpricing myself, because, as an artist, as a professional artist, I know what I was, I know how to rate my work and charge for that work. But as a textile artist, I was new. I was just starting out. And so I was trying to help animals, and the work was selling so fast, it was like, this is ridiculous, because I would meditate, I would get an image, I'd create the piece of art and the story that went with it, the messages that the animal brought me, and then off it would go. And I was like, wow, this needs to be priced higher. It's getting too fast,
Sure.
Now, today, fast forward to today, that was 2016 when I began forward to today, and I have over 12 nonprofits that I work with very close from around the world, whether it's a polar bear. I've got great contacts, and it's guided to me through the work through animal communication, because there's a lot of charlatans out there. There's a lot of places you don't want to be used for any of that. And the most success I have had is in galleries and in Houston International Quilt Show.
Yeah. And so it's mostly through the sale of your arts. I know that you teach us what you do as well.
I also teach, yeah. And that all goes. Also, I'm a fabric designer. I'm a Benartex fabric designer. I'm an Aurifil designer, and I'm a BERNINA Ambassador. So all of my speaking engagements, all of the things that I do goes back to that, because that was what I said I was going to do. I made a promise to a white line in 2015. I actually made a piece and called A Promise Kept, and that was sold in Houston. That was a fun piece. If you were to, I get asked a lot of this, like, well, Lorraine, how do you survive? Like, how do you pay your bills, whatever? And so I am someone that has had a good career. I'm very fortunate that I'm able to do this and give back. And I don't, I'm not foolish. I take money for my supplies, and I have supplies, but they're not that much. I don't spend that much money.
Right.
Honestly, when you have BERNINA behind you and Aurifil behind you, and they get you what you're doing, they understand it. Pretty nice place to be. And I always said that I have found that when you walk in the direction you aspire to be, doors open.
Yep, I agree.
These doors open. Yep. So anybody listening, anybody that's out there, don't think that we as that are doing this in the business, we really didn't. I did not set out my intention, I'm going to do this with BERNINA or Benartex, all that. I just kept doing what I do because I love doing it. And if it sells, and it sells at sells at a time, it's going to go to the nonprofits that I'm working with. But I think that's where you got to get your heart in the right direction. And I think that everything else falls into place.
Absolutely.
Follow your heart. Follow your heart.
And do you do sales just on your website? Do you do auctions? How do you sell your stuff? The
only auction I did was I did a whole bunch of fun hand painted with ink tents, little pocketbooks and placemats and all kinds of things. And I did an eBay auction last September that was all Christmas giving time, and it all went to nonprofits, and everything sold. Everything sold. So when I first started pricing it, I was like, boy, these things are going too fast. So then I put them up on eBay and auctioned them. I'm like, okay, this is going to the highest bidder because they were going too fast.
Right.
And I'm not,
can't keep up.
I don't look at this. I don't want to be one of those crafts people that goes, okay, I need to make 10 lions. I don't work like that.
Right.
Because people are saying, well, Lorraine, you're going to do a flamingo. And I'm like, I don't know if it comes to me. I only do what comes to me.
Yeah.
Maybe.
We talked a little bit about a monarch. Tell me about a monarch. Do you remember what that story is?
Yeah. Each year when my fabric line comes out, and I originally was with Free Spirit, I have a couple lines of Free Spirit. What I would do is when the fabric launched, I would team up with a nonprofit, an endangered species, an insect, and monarch, and I would put together a project, a challenge. So the monarch was saveourmonarch.org, and they work very hard to help monarchs that are struggling because of climate change. Yeah. And I had everybody, I drew a pattern, and I charged $20 for the pattern, and 100% of the money went to saveourmonarch.org. Okay. So the people created a project. They only had to use 50% of my fabrics, my loo line, and the rest could be whatever they wanted to do. I think I wanted them to do, on that particular one, I said, I want to see some handwork, because I was trying to get them to push the envelope. Handwork, and they had to use 12-point thread. Aurifil was involved, and they had to use Aurifil 12-point thread. You could do hand, you could do whatever. And we had some really great entries. And then I got Susan Brubaker Knapp from Quilting Arts TV to be my judge,
Oh,
So
wow.
she judged, and then Aurifil got involved with prizes, and
Oh, that's exciting.
Spear gotten prizes, and it was fun, and it helps the monarchs, and we did it for
Yeah.
the koalas. I did it the koalas one year, and everybody's looking at me now like, what are we doing next?
Well, I think the exciting thing about that is, yes, it helps the monarchs, it helps the animals the endangered species. Those are really, really important. But the other thing that you're doing that's also really, really important is you are advocating for those animals. You're creating
Mm,
awareness and you're creating a community that actually cares and
yeah,
wants to be able to find the next project. And that's
yeah.
huge. That's a really, really important part of artists being activists, and I think that community piece is a really, really important part.
That community is what has begun to drive me recently. Of all my work, my passion is for endangered animals, but I am not doing personal appearances right now, probably because of COVID and because
Sure.
I've got a lot of work. I'm working on another solo exhibit. And I am meeting more and more people that maybe they're retiring, maybe they have a spouse that's ill and they can't do what they used to do. We have a lot of seniors that work in this industry, and they are lonely. They can't get to their guilds. They're not going to the things they used to go
Hmm.
to.
Yeah.
And I'm finding this community is hungry. And I created a group on Facebook called Boost Your Creativity with Lorraine Turner. And I do free monthly Zooms with them. And we have picked a project. This year we made it a year, so it's the last Friday of every month, and it's free. And they are teaching themselves something new. I don't care if it's cooking, gardening, playing an instrument, anything, coloring a book. And then they are I'm not there to teach you. I'm there to encourage you. And let's see what have you always wanted to do? What have
Sure.
you always wanted to do? And dedicate some time to it. And they're doing the group's growing. And so that they were all excited about that. So then I came up with this idea of a pen pal. So I'm doing a
Yeah.
free global international pen pal, and it's working. It's talk about community. So I have people from 9 different countries, bilingual, all different languages, and they have given me their name and address, join this Facebook group, and they are snail mail. They are writing letters.
Wow.
They don't know. They just know they're a quilter, an artist, or a craftsperson. And we are exchanging. And the things that are the most exciting thing for me when I look at this is that I had a woman that said to me, don't give me anybody but Australia. I live in Australia and I don't want to deal with international mail. It's like, all right. So I have an assistant and I said, don't give her anybody outside of Australia. She's, financially, she wants to keep it there. Okay, fine. She doesn't read my note. And she puts her together with a girl from Ireland.
Okay.
So that's fine. So I come to find out she's so excited because her brother lives within like 7 miles of the pen pal because he married an Irish girl.
Oh my
So
God.
I'm telling you, so I look at the universe stepping in, like
No
the universe
kidding.
steps in
Yeah.
and I'm seeing it. I mean, I'm sitting back going, I'm doing this randomly, but there's something else involved here
There's something
because
connecting
it's
that. Yeah.
and so that community alone has been, I'm excited about that. My husband said, you spend a lot of time on that. That's a free, that's a big, and it is, it's like snowballing. I'm like, I know, but my heart is invested because it's making a difference in people's lives. And, I'm happy to do that.
And I think that the idea around sustainability, it starts at home. It starts with the self. It starts with the individual. And so if we're able to be settled and excited in our own lives, and we start hearing these other rumblings and stories, like your story, your narrative around saving endangered species, that's a part of your fiber and being. So
Mm-hmm.
even
Mm-hmm.
in a community where you're not necessarily talking about that, you're still talking about that, and
Yeah.
it is still being shared and shown. And that community gets those little pieces and those little bits of information and is able to look at it and reflect in their own lives about it, and I think that that's the most organic way to make change in sustainability.
And that's a good point. You make such a good point because and when I say we, because I am in the industry, and it's a machine at times.
Yep.
It's a big
Absolutely.
industry.
Yeah.
And because I'm a newbie, and I'm not so much a newbie anymore, but I still feel like it sometimes when I hear women talking, because I really don't have the experience that they have. I say I'm just an artist, but I'm really applying everything I've done as an artist and putting it in fabric and threads.
You're 8 years in
But
now. You're not a newbie anymore.
my husband said the same thing. You can't say that anymore.
No.
But I'm fascinated with these people, but I'm not. I've had enough. Here, I could say this. I was blessed enough to get some of the really top people in the industry to give me some really great advice. And one of them was, you can always say no.
Right.
So I don't have to take on everything because everybody wants this of me, or that you have a following and they expect you to, fly all over the place and teach. Yeah. I can say no. Yeah. And I have started to say no and pull back, because I really see that. And I say this all the time because people say to me, Lorraine, how can you deal with abused animals? How can you deal with missing? There's a lot of animal communicators that will not take on missing animal cases. The people are desperate. It's a very different energy.
Very
and
emotional,
I follow the Gandhi statement, where Gandhi says you must rise above the suffering. You got to rise above the suffering to help the masses. If you can't do that, then there's no place for me in this work. But I need to rise above it in order to keep doing this and helping other people. I got to make sure I'm healthy. Yeah. I got to know when to say no. I got to have healthy boundaries, because this is what makes, as you just said, that's my fiber. Yeah. I don't have to do this. I can say, no, I'm not doing this. I choose to do this. I choose to help people with missing animals. And, I found one of the things, and this isn't common. People don't know this until you get into doing animal communication, but animal communication, I kept saying, why do I keep getting, people that are abused and animals that are abused? It's because I was in a toxic relationship for 16 years. What happens is your energy draws that to you because you can handle it, and you've got something, and you don't know this. I'm like, why am I getting this? Like, why don't I get the kind that the other girls are getting, the other animal communicators? I want one of those cases, the happy little dog. They want to know what food he likes, I don't get that. Right. The thing that's funny about this work when you do this as an animal communicator is the horses, like the horse band, they start talking to you. So you're working on, they're like, that's not the way my ears look. And you're like, what? Wait a second. Now the animals are talking here.
Tell me about your Black Panther in Cambodia.
Oh, when I do textile illustration, it is inspired by meditation. So what I do is I sit in silence 15 minutes a day, and I ask at the beginning of the meditation if there's an animal that wishes to have their portrait and has a message for humanity to please step forward. And so the animals step forward, and there are quite a lot of them, and I make a list because I made a promise to do this. And one of them was a Black Panther. Now, the Black Panther, when it came to me, I saw it pacing and I felt it. So that's what happens. You take on the feeling of the animal. So I felt like suffocating, really. I felt I was confined. I felt my heart racing, pacing. And then I saw the rainforest, and I saw the animal in the rainforest, beautiful rainforest. And then back again to the pacing. So I was talking to it, and I realized that the animal was in captivity, and he's showing me, I knew it was a male, homeland, captivity. And so I couldn't really get him to tell me how he found himself there, or because he was so agitated, and he wants me, I've asked him if he has a message for humanity to come forward. And on so many messages is that, the animal was taken out of the rainforest against its will, and it's in captivity, and it's a beautiful animal. So all I can do to honor the animal is to say, I will put you in your natural environment. So when I do your portrait, I will put you in your home in the rainforest. And the animal, you could feel the animal shifts, the animal knows. And then I said, and the energy starts to dissipate. So if you can imagine like a TV screen that starts to melt away, energy starts to dissipate. And I said, do you have anything more you want to say? And I heard Cambodia. So I knew that the animal was in that Cambodia. I can't tell you if the animal's still alive, but that was the only message that was given to me. And so I worked, I didn't put that into the art, but that was the message that was given to me. I was given a clear understanding that the animal wanted me to get that word out that the animal had been taken from its homeland, and it, ended up in Cambodia. So I did that Black Panther, and it recently sold. And then that was given to the whitelions.org in South Africa, because I go for the big cats. I mean, I only have certain nonprofits that work with big cats, and that is one of them that I trust, because I can't just look up blackpanther.com. I have to be very careful with where this money goes.
So tell me about some of those nonprofits that you work for. So you work with the Lions in South Africa?
Ipswich. I work with Ipswich Koala Protection Society, and they are in Queensland, Australia. And I connected with them with an art project, and I've been donating to them ever since. Now, I also sell fabric collage patterns. So those are on Etsy. And so when I sell a koala, it'll go to the Ipswich Koala.
Okay.
I have wolfconnection.org, which is in California, phenomenal wolf sanctuary. Love this group. They connect people that teens that are struggling and having trouble learn pack behavior by teaming them up with the wolves. So they work with that's just an incredible thing to help them in their life situations that they're, kids sometimes just need some direction. They need some guidance, and working with the wolves has helped them do that. I work with horselink.org, and they are in Austin, Texas, and they work with retired people and veterans that are dealing with post-traumatic stress. And I love this group. What they've done is they have taken, so think of retired champion race horses and competition horses and the blue ribbons and all that. Yeah. And they're retired. And these people want a place for them to live out their lives, right? They're going to graze and they're going to have a nice, comfy life. And they've teamed them up with the people that feel like they've retired and they don't have a purpose anymore. Okay. So you've got the retired champion horse that feels like he doesn't have a purpose anymore, teamed up with this, and it is extremely successful. Yeah. I've got Return to Freedom, which is in Lompoc, California. That is a huge, huge. They work tirelessly. They work with animals all across the country. And what happens in our country, and I don't want to get into it too much because it's a negative subject, but in our country, we have managed land. Business Bureau of Land Management from our government handles this. And so we have grazing rights, mineral rights, water rights, all these rights all over the country. Mm-hmm. And the wild horses are considered a nuisance. And so the wild horses are rounded up and they are put into warehouses. It's really what they are, warehouses. I'm talking about thousands of horses when you go there, a pen. And they are supposed to be, adopted by people. Who the heck can adopt a wild horse? I mean, seriously. Yeah. And so it's illegal in this country to slaughter horses and to sell for human consumption. But people look the wrong way, they look the other way, and they end up going out to Mexico and Canada, and off they go. So this is still going on. It's been going on. It's a problem in our country, but it's it's not going to change for a while. But the woman that I work with, Netta, in Return to Freedom, works very, very hard to find homes for these horses that are rounded up so that they're not stuck in this. And you do it one at a time. You do one horse at a time. It's a lot of funds to feed and water one wild horse. So you can imagine it. She's got over 400 horses that she takes care of. Wow. So I help that sanctuary. I help the Virginia range. That's another equine. I help the Corolla wild horses in North and Outer Banks. My heart is invested in the horses because the horses keep coming.
Well, your horses are beautiful. I'm looking at one that's on your wall behind you right now, and there's 3 horses, and they're running through the surf and the water, and they're calico horses with these beautiful colors, and it's just a lovely piece. And your horses are amazing. And what made you? So the calico fabrics came from the idea of that first vision that you saw of the calico horses.
That's it. That was it.
And that's kept you in that.
That's it. And I didn't, because when I look at, because when you're first starting to do this, you're like, well, I know I'm a graphic artist. I know how to paint, Sure. I'm just going to paint with my sewing machine. That's how I looked at it. And these, of course there's techniques and there's understanding stabilizers and all that. And that comes with experience, right?
Yep.
So I was able to, keep playing with that and figuring what that works. So, this needle keeps breaking. Gee, I think I need to try this. I didn't have any instruction. Nobody's telling me what to do here.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I found when I started teaching people, and they were really having a frustrating time with the way I teach because I don't have a lot of rules. My thing is no rules, only life lessons. That's my whole concept. So I had people, I had people that made bridal gowns. They're used to measuring, so many inches, whatever. And I was in Italy and this woman was crying and crying. And I had a translator and I asked the translator, what's she crying about? And here she's used to working with mothers of the bride and the brides. She's a gown maker.
So
and I'm teaching her how to do a bunny. And she's trying to measure the bunny's head and the ears. And I'm like, wait, whoa, ho, ho. It's a bunny. It's an organic shape. I given the pattern, trace the bunny, and she just couldn't. And then finally I sat and had lunch with her, and through the translator, I said, there's no rules here. And she was like, no rules. And I was like, no, we're playing here like a big crayon box. We're coloring. Yeah. And she did great after that. She loved it.
Oh, that's so good.
That's what, I'm finding with a lot of I had students that are in my class crying. I'm like, I'm getting used to these criers now. It took me a while. What's with the crying? But I realized
it's
now
a release.
Criers. It's the thing.
There's so many people who have lived very structured lives and don't know how to access that creativity. And so being given permission to be creative as you want, that is sometimes a very hard thing to accept and a hard thing to allow yourself to do.
I'm realizing that, and I get that's part of me that has to pull back and realize that they want rules, they want structure, and this one woman was crying. I was like, "What's her problem?" She's looking around, and everybody's using K fabric. She doesn't like K fabric. Don't like K fabric. She doesn't like the. I'm like, well, why are you using it? Because of everybody else. She's too busy looking at what everybody else is doing instead of looking at her stash. She absolutely loves Aborigine fabrics, Australian fabrics. I said, make it out of that. She goes, can I? Yes.
Well, when you give yourself that permission to step out of your comfort zone, it's overwhelming. Like the crying, I think for me, like I've been in that position. And I think for me, it was really, it was kind of a relief. It's like, I actually get to follow my heart. I've always been told how to do everything, and I'm happy to comply. And I'm suddenly not having to comply. Oh, okay. And it's just more of a relief rather than fear. You're a little bit of fear because you're facing some new stuff. But then there's just this relief of, I get to be creative.
But there's also that thing that I wasn't experienced because I'm not in the whole quilters thing. I'm not in the industry. I'm not experienced that they do a different one every weekend. Right. They do, or every month or two times a year, whatever. And they're used to a certain format. And I didn't know the rules of the game. I didn't, I've had people asking me, I went to Ireland and Italy. I went all over the place teaching because I have a heart to teach. And I'm excited. But what I was teaching, I was teaching like you just take the fabric and you put it over here. Like, I'm very loose. I'm telling that's how I work. Like when I do these horses, I'm looking for the muscle tone. So it's almost like, the caves that are in France that were the people that did that art, they like took the rock and the formations and they drew the horse because the chest area looked like that part of the rock. So that's how I work. I mean, I really work that same way. I'm sculpting with fabric and thread.
You're looking for the shading to make.
I'm looking for
pieces.
That. That's what I'm looking for. That's a hard thing to teach. I'm realizing is that it's easy for me only because I've been doing it for so long, on the computer and that now that I'm doing it with fabric threads, I see it. I just see it. And that's something that
not everybody does. Yeah.
Not everybody can see it. And so I'm finding that out just by even stepping back from teaching. I'm stepping back and going, that's why they struggle with us, because they're not, they really want rules. Step 1, put the horse's ear on. Sure. Step 2, put the,
and us thread painters and art quilters, we don't necessarily work that way. And it's hard for people who are used to being structured with quilts. And you have a method, you have a beginning, middle, and an end, and you get to a finished piece at the end of it. In some of my classes, you don't even get finished. Like you are.
And that's another thing. I was starting to like get upset. I'm back in my hotel room and I have another day to teach. And I'm thinking, we're never going to get this done. Now I'm realizing they're fine. They're drinking wine. They're with their friends, and I'm all stressed out.
Right. Yeah, no, I think we take that on a little bit ourselves. We're like, but what if they're not happy? They're not getting it finished in time. Because we could do it in that same amount of time, but they need the time to go through the process. They need your 8 years. They need
to chit chat. They need all that.
Yeah, they need all of those parts. That's that community part again, that link. I want to take a minute here to thank you for listening to the Threads of Sustainability podcast. I've really loved all of the interviews that I've done already and looking forward to doing so much more. If you're enjoying what you're hearing and you want to support the podcast, you can do that on my website at bridgetoflaherty.com, and you can buy me a cup of tea. I don't drink coffee, so I'd love a cuppa, and you can pay what you want. You can also follow, like, share the podcast episodes with a friend. I love getting your support and I love getting your feedback. Don't forget to send me an email and tell me what you think. And now we'll get back to talking with Lorraine Turner. I had just asked her about her silk tie collection.
I use a lot of vintage ties. My husband has a collection, and he was going to give them to he was going to sell them at a place. And I said to him, he said, well, can you think you could use these? And I said, yeah. And he kind of hesitated, gave it to me. And I said, I have scissors. And I ended up putting him in the art, and he loved it. He's fine. He goes, you know what, Lorraine, it's important that somebody appreciates it. I said, that's the whole point about upcycling, is that even the like all the doilies that you see in the froth of the water. And I just started painting some of the doilies for a foal I just did, because I could get the different look. So I the hand dyed. I also hand paint them using ink tints. And I'm loving the fact that these are not going into a landfill. They're not sitting in a back cupboard. They're not, my kids don't want them. I'm not handing down. But my Nana, I know my Nana's thrilled. She was a seamstress. And she gets to see that in the art. And I know she's watching over everything I do. So yeah, that's a great way.
The cool thing I think about upcycling like that into art pieces is it kind of gives these other materials like doilies and silk ties, those kinds of things, this second life within the art piece. And then I'm always wondering, like, who wore that before, and what table did that sit on? What's the story that was attached to that piece of fiber, that piece of textile? There's another story back there, and we don't get to know it, but I always like thinking about it.
I had one of those wonderful interventions that just happens, those things that happen, divine intervention. I was doing a wild horse, and I did denim. So it was denim background. I have that wild horse. The land is very, very dry. I've got this scrub brush, and the animal's grazing. And I look back and I went, oh, and in the jeans was this really faded part. And it looks like the horse was blowing from the nostrils, like snorting.
Oh, wow.
And it was perfect. I mean, it was perfect. I'm like, well, I couldn't have done that if I tried,
You didn't even know it was there.
Back, I had no idea. People go, oh, that's really cool how you did that. And I'm like, yeah, thanks.
Sometimes it just gets placed in the right spot.
So get using those old jeans. It works. Right.
Yeah, no. And that's that second story to second life to the pieces that are going into art pieces and textiles like that. I think that's really fun and really interesting, and a way of connecting history and past with future use and futures. That
texture and that extra layering and that extra fiber of a doily or a button or whatever, all of that is the tale. Like you said, it has a history of its own. And when you put it into, splashing wave, whatever it is, it takes on a whole new life. So maybe it sat, like you said, on a dress of your grandmother's or whatever. And now it's in this beautiful scene. You don't know it, but somehow that has added an extra layer of story to the story.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's bringing its own life energy into whatever is there. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So what are your next projects? What's coming up that people can participate in?
Well, definitely get involved in the snail mail global pen pal thing. I think that you're going to find that. This is what I think you're going to find. I think you're going to find that there's a message for you, that there's something that you've been looking for that you didn't even know you were looking for. And that person that you get connected to is going to have something for you, something that you have no idea what it is. I'm seeing it again and again. So get involved in that. Join my group, my Boost Your Creativity groups, a lot of talented people, all different artisans, from, people that are crocheting to people that are doing hand quilting, and just lots of beautiful things. So get involved in that. And it is free. We're meeting the last Friday of every month. It's a free thing for an hour. They're all like show and tell kids. They're like in kindergarten. They're so excited, they're sculpting. They're doing all kinds of stuff. Could get involved in that. As far as what I'm working on right now, I am doing animal communication lecture series, and I'm doing a trunk show. I've never done a trunk show myself online. I've been asked more and more to do trunk shows, so I figured, I'll do a trunk show. There's a lot of people that, this is the thing that gets me. It's like, I feel like, haven't I already told them this? But I'm realizing that people never heard of you. They don't know your story.
No.
You're like, oh, I have to tell the story again. They don't know the story.
It's a whole new set of people every time.
it's fun. And I do have people that go, and I just discovered you. Tell me about, and I'm like, oh boy. Are you sure? How much time do you have? So that's what I'm doing. Personal appearances are going to stop. They're going to go back in 2024, 2023. I'm looking to have a solo exhibit. I'm not going to give you dates, time, places, whatever, because my proposal isn't in yet, but
Okay.
they have asked me to submit a proposal and I'm doing that. And then fabric design. Oh my gosh, look for my fabric design. It's going to launch this July. Nobody even knows the name of it. This is how another thing in this business. You're not allowed to say anything. I don't know what that's all about.
And
I still haven't figured that out, but whatever.
Which company is it coming out?
I'm at Benartex.
Benartex, okay.
And they are owned by BERNINA, so it's a perfect fit for me.
Yeah, that's nice.
It's a really nice fit for me. So we're going to launch that this July, and I've already done 2 other lines of yet. This is how you work. You work a year in advance constantly.
Right, of course, yeah.
So if you haven't seen me, like people are like, where have you been? I'm busy. I'm
working. I'm working. And it's so awesome that your work gets to be this kind of work, right? That you get to do this creative work and you get to meet people the way you're meeting people and connecting and communicating with animals the way you are. Like, what a blessing of a life. It's awesome.
So imagine that piece that is back there and it's done all with my fabrics. That's the first time in my life, right? So I'm now designing for Benartex and I'm designing my animals with my own illustration. And it's a fabric collage, but it's that. When that challenge came before me, that was when I couldn't turn it down. I was like, oh, my own fabrics.
Yeah. So it's really all your own designs within the whole thing. So
exactly, all encompassing. So that's
really exciting.
That's a fun thing. And that'll go again, that'll be, I have not named the nonprofit. Every single fabric line gets a nonprofit assigned to it.
Okay.
And as I get closer and I get ready for that, I will announce that and everybody knows it. But I have to tell you, it doesn't stop. I don't see it as a driving factor. Oh, I'm going to buy that art because it's helping horses or lions.
It's a good bonus. It's a good bonus.
You know what? I can't worry about that. Like I have my intention set and I'm going for it. That's it.
No, well, and it all comes out very beautifully through what you're doing. And it really shows in everything that you're doing as well, that there's just intention behind it. This isn't a money making business that you've gotten into thinking I'm going to get rich being a textile artist. I don't know. Does anybody say that? Anyway.
Have you, Bridget? Have you gotten rich yet?
No, I haven't. Not quite yet. No, I haven't.
Well, I would love to hear your story, Bridget. I want to hear about you.
I'm quite happy and content. I have been in the industry for a long time, about almost 30 years now. And when I started doing thread painting, again, there was no way to learn how to do it. YouTube didn't exist. It wasn't a thing. There was nowhere for me to go and look for video tutorials. So I just had to stumble through it and figure it out. And I was in early days of doing thread painting. I was one of probably a handful of people doing thread painting 30 years ago. Especially in the quilting industry. And just kind of developed and done it since then. But it's shifted and changed. And now it's in every quilt show, there is always thread painting now. That was not the case 30 years ago. I have
to say, as far as quilt show, as quilt shows are concerned, and that's a heck of a career you've had. I can't even imagine that, 30 years.
Yeah.
But as far as the quilts are, I've never entered, like people say, oh, Lorraine, you need to enter. I have never entered anything. I'm not going to enter anything. And I still hear judges that say, you have frayed edges. It's called raw applique. And until the whole industry understands that, there's no place for Lorraine because I'm not going to turn my fabric into it.
I think it's changing because I was just at Quilt Canada last week, which was amazing. And wonderful. There were many quilts and prize-winning quilts that were raw edge applique. So it's changing. People are starting to understand that art piece, and thread painting is in so many of them now. The art quilts are, I would hazard to say that art quilts are actually the dominant type of quilts at the quilt shows, the bigger quilt shows now.
Wow.
Compared to traditional quilts. Yeah, it's really shifted, especially from when I started 30 years ago, I was one of a handful of art quilters. Most people were doing the traditional quilts. And that's really changing. Yeah, I see it really changing.
Well, I'm going to keep doing it because I love doing it. So
that's
art
perfect.
for the art's sake,
That's exactly what you should be doing. Thank you so much.
It's been a privilege to speak to you, to speak to your audience. I have a passion for this. To meet you, Bridget, knowing your passion, it's just a win. It really is. It's a winning combination. So I really appreciate the opportunity.
I appreciate having you talk with me, and it's such a great conversation. And really, I think we could probably talk for a very long time. Tell us now how people can get in touch with you.
My website is calicohorses.com, and that has all of my Facebook links and my Instagram links and all of that right on the website. Okay. So I would just go there and you can get to my Facebook. I write blogs. I'm constantly helping endangered animals. I've got projects that you can get involved with. Awesome. It's just, if you want to get involved with helping animals in a fun way, then check out my website, because I'm very strong with community, and I like being able to learn from other people. So
that was such a lovely conversation with Lorraine. I feel like I have run into an old friend. I could have talked to her for hours. We had so much in common with our textile art and just our connection to family history. It really had me thinking about my mom a lot, and it inspired me to actually start a project for my mom, which I am still working on. It's called the Dear Mom Project, kind of like the Dear Jane quilts. And I'm going through old templates of hers and making quilt blocks and doing slow stitching. And that connects back to Lorraine with her mindfulness with her quilting. And anyway, it was just a really lovely, lovely conversation that I had with her. And I really appreciated being able to understand her process a little bit better. And I hope you did too. If you enjoyed it and you want to talk to me more about it, please reach out. I'd love to hear from you. You can email me, and you can reach me through my website at bridgetoflaherty.com. If you're interested in a community that engages with sustainability in quilting and textiles, you can join the Learning Hub at bridgetoflaherty.com. There you will find memberships, online courses, supplies, and resources for sustainability and my textile art. You can also book me to speak with or teach your group. You can find me on social media at The Sustainable Quilter. Don't forget to comment, like, and share, and to follow me on your favorite podcast app so you won't miss an episode. Thanks for joining me, and I'm so excited to share this journey with you. Until next time, happy stitching.